Then base of Torah, page 42, we begin actually with the beginning of the maamor Ner Chanukah, which is the last column of Daf Mem Aleph. Today's Shiur is Lizchus Nechamrachel Bas Yocheved and Tinek ben Nechamrachel, and this week's Shiurim is Lizchus Reb Eliezer Kornhauser. The maamor begins with a quote from the Gemara. The Gemara says that we light the menora on the left side so that we'll have mitzvahs on both sides. We have the mezuze on the right side and the Chanukah menora on the left side, and therefore we've got mitzvahs on both sides. So the question is, the menora misses out. Why can't the menora be on the right side as well? So to understand this, let's launch into a discussion about creation. What we know that Hashem is really beyond, and then Hashem is unchanged before creation, after creation. But from what aspect of godliness does creation happen? What level of involvement is there? So we have one pasuk which says, it's from Tehillim Kuf Lamed Hey, that Kol Asher Chavetz Hashem Asa, whatever Hashem desires was made. This pasuk implies that creation comes from Hashem's desire, Hashem's will. But then another pasuk, B'dvar Hashem Shamayim Nasu, that with the word of Hashem, heavens was created. This pasuk implies that it's the word of Hashem, not the desire. Now, of course, desire is something deep within, whereas the word is something which you speak when there are others present. It's an external, just an external garment of the person. It's not internal. Actually, with your desire is genuine to what you want, at least. Whereas speech, it's not. You could say 1 + 1 = 3. It doesn't even have to be true at all. So where is creation from? Is it from desire or speech? Now we know also that there are 10 maamoros, 10 utterances with which Hashem created the world, like let there be light, let there be the sky, etc. So this also implies that it's related to speech. So the answer is based on first realizing that everything in the world and all existence, any item or person or entity is made up of two parts, chomer and tzura. There's the actual thing, the existence of the item, and then the form in which that existence is. So, for example, you might have something which is carved out of wood. So what is it? It's wood, but then it's carved out into a particular shape and particular style and particular color. So that's all part of the form, but the chomer is what it actually is. Now, so if we talk about the world and more generally, so we might say that the heavens and the earth are round, because we've got the earth is round, and then also the things that the travel path of different moons and etc. Other celestial bodies is round, if not a circle, but it's oval, it's round. And similarly, we have other parts of the form, like the fact that the sun and moon are, shine, that we see their shine. So that's also part of the form. It's not the actual thing. And similarly, the positionings, if we say that that the Earth is a certain distance from the sun or from a certain planet, that's also part of the form. And therefore we can divide between the two and say that the chomer, the actual existence of the item, so that comes from the word of Hashem and the 10 utterances, and that applies to all of them, whether to light or to the sky or other things. But how it was created, the form in which it's created, that comes from Hashem's desire, which is beyond speech. So now, why is it that the actual item had to be created from Hashem's speech? Why couldn't all be created from Hashem's desire? So the answer is because if it would be created directly from Hashem's desire, that more intimate relationship with the godly would smother the item and make its independence impossible, to make it just enveloped within Hashem, and therefore it had to be created from speech, which allows for another, at least its basic existence is from speech, and the form can be from desire, from Hashem's desire. And so the all creation ends up that it is something from nothing, and that's actually that's the meaning of the pasuk, which we say in davening. It's from near the end of Tehillim, the last few chapters of Tehillim, ki hu tziva v'nivro, that it says that with the word that Hashem created all creation with His word, and hu tziva v'nivro, He commanded and it was created. So tziva is a commandment of a king, and creation in general comes from malchus, which is also connected to speech. And what is revealed through malchus and through speech? It's only a ray, it's only a name, not the essence. Like that same paragraph, Kuf Memches continues, Yahal Hashem Hashem that it says Yahal Hashem Hashem Nivro, that the full pasuk with these words Hotziv Nivro is that they praise the name of Hashem because He commanded and it was created. So we're praising the name of Hashem, meaning it's not Hashem's essence, it's just the name, which name is about connecting to others. And with this is like a physical king, that he's not actively involved in every individual's life in the country, but his name is over the entire people in the entire country, despite his lack of active involvement. Where on the other hand, the Ayin Sarim, it says that there are 70 ministering angels, that each of them are the ministering angel over one nation in the world, so they are more actively involved. That they themselves are creations, and they're part of this spiritual ecosystem of creation, and they're involved in it. And you have some that their spiritual source is water, and others their spiritual source is fire. And they evolve from higher level angels, which eventually evolve from the four sides of the Merkava, of the holy chariot. But the faces on the chariot, the face of the ox, the eagle, and the lion, so those faces come yesh man, there's something from nothing. Meaning that bringing down this spiritual energy is from nothing, in other words, it's from godliness, which is beyond us, and therefore it's called nothing. And all that comes down is a ray from Hashem. It's not Hashem being involved with His essence. So that ray from this nothing, this beyond, this unlimited spiritual energy, gives vitality and allows to exist the yesh, the something. So therefore, it's something from nothing. But what's the purpose? It's not meant to stay as a something, but we're meant to take that something and make it back into a ayin, back into nothing, into something which is nullified bottle before Hashem, one with Hashem. And therefore it says in a pasuk about talking about Mashiach, that when Mashiach comes, that the glory of Hashem will be revealed. So it will be revealed in this physical world just as in high spiritual worlds. And like another pasuk says, that when Mashiach comes, ayin ba'ayin yiro, that we'll see eye to eye with Hashem, and meaning even in this world. And this depends on our avodah, on our action until then. So we all have the ability to bring the world to that state of Mashiach. And we have a portion within Olam Haba. We have to bring that out in a revealed way. And when we meditate on the fact that Hashem is unchanged by creation, and darkness and light is all the same for Hashem, the difference, symptom, this contraction and concealment is only from our perspective, but not Hashem. So when we realize that, then we realize that there's no purpose, there's no point of the yesh for itself, of the something for itself. The whole purpose of it is to come back and be included within the ayin, within the nothing, which is beyond, and therefore it's called nothing because we don't relate to it, the godly. Now, the pasuk says in Tehillim, and also in Kuf Lamed Hey, Ki God or Hashem v'adeneinu mekalekim, that Hashem is great and our master is great over all other gods. When we say over all other gods, we're referring to what Kabbalah calls 120 combinations of the name Elokim. The name Elokim is Hashem's name, which relates to nature and relates to concealment, where Hashem hides his hands. And there are 120 combinations because you can swap the letters around and form 120 different orders of the letters in the name Elokim. So we've got all this symptom, all this contraction and concealment of godliness, and this creates the yesh, a separate existence, as something that is not nullified. But despite that Elokim, still God or Havaya v'adeneinu mikol Hashem is great mikol over all gods. In other words, not just over false gods, but over Elokim, the true God, but in its state of nature and concealment. That the Elokim shouldn't be able to hide the godliness and the unlimited light from Hashem. And that's what this pasuk, which talks about that Hashem is greater. It's similar to another pasuk that I know. It says that I know that Hashem is greater, and this is what our neshamas, the souls of the Jewish people, say. This ki ani yadaiti, that I know is that Hashem is the real God. That is this pasuk that we quoted, the beginning of the pasuk we quoted before in Tehillim. Whereas the idolatrous nations, they say that that Hashem left heaven and earth and is not involved, and Elokim is a real concealment. And so that's like what Pari says, that lo yadaitis havaya, I don't know Hashem as havaya, especially Hashem as he's beyond nature. And Yisrael, who converted, he says, Ati yadaiti ki gadol havaya. Now I know that Hashem is great. So Yisrael, who was converting, he did make this realization. This is because everything that Hashem created with his desire, it also came into heaven and earth. They all have a form from Hashem's desire and will, so that they shouldn't be that they shouldn't come down in shouldn't come down in a revealed way in speech, because Hashem's speech is this power of giving space for the other. And that is what causes yeshus. That's what causes ego. And over on the top of Mem base. So this is the concept that it says that Hashem originally created the world with din, with severity and judgment, but then he added midas harachmim, the attribute of mercy. And that's why at the end of creation, for the first time, it mentions Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. It says on the day that Hashem created, B'yoyim hasois havaya elikim. Now in Hallel we say, why should the Goyim say Aye Elokehem, where is their God? Meaning that godliness is sometimes appears to be concealed, and so that they can say that Hashem has left the earth and it's only running based on nature from Shem Elokim. But the truth is that although speech gives off this appearance that things are just running independently, but the truth is that everything is with Hashem's desire. And this is what the chapter in Hallel, before in Hallel, Kuf Yudalet is B'Tzeis Yisrael, and then the next chapter, Kuf Tezvav, is where it says, Lama Yomer Goyim, why should the nations say, where is their God? So from Hashem's desire, so that connects to Havaya, like it says that whatever it's Havaya, also whatever Hashem wants, it uses the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, was made. And so when Tehillim says in Kuf Tezvav, it says, why should the nation say, where is your God? So this comes right after the B'Tzeis Yisrael, where it talks about how Hashem can change nature and make the sea disappear or make rock turn into water. He could change nature however he wants, because Elikim is only a concealment, and that can conceal the godly light within everything, including within nature. But really everything is nullified before Havaya, before Hashem's unlimited light, and therefore there can be a revelation of Hashem's unlimited light wherever. Next, v'hinei. Now, when a person meditates on this, he meditates on how everything is really Hashem, and sometimes this is concealed within a garb of nature, but really it's all based on Hashem's unlimited light. So then he'll yearn to just be nullified before Hashem, and then he'll want to just leave all physical pleasures and transform himself to Hashem, like it says that Mili Vashamayim, who is there in heavens? And there's nothing else on earth. All I want is Hashem. And in Zayat says that only someone who transformed bitterness to sweetness, which bitterness is the physical pleasures, and the sweetness is spiritual pleasures. So without that, they don't have they haven't attained a portion in the world to come. So they have to transform darkness to light. Now there's everything down here. Everything of the physical world has a source in the spiritual world, and that's where the outcome and the impact of the physical things come from. It comes from its spiritual source, and any pleasure has a spiritual source. Like, for example, about Yosef, he talks about how he would comb his hair, and in Svarim of Kabbalah talks about the impact that has spiritually. So it caused Yosef being involved in combing his hair caused the chayes, the life force from Hashem, to being clothed in impurity, and therefore Yosef ended up stuck in prison for 12 years. And it all started from him being too involved in the physical and his appearance and combing his hair. like the Gemara says on the pasuk that Yosef was Yifei Teva Yifei Mara, that he was very handsome and beautiful, and then that caused a bad impact that that the wife of his master called out to him and said to lie with him. So what do we have to do instead to get out of this and get beyond this? We have to transform darkness into light and bitterness into sweetness. And that was the idea of the karbonos, that we take an animal that has this raging passion for eating grass, and then we make it instead into a carbon of Hashem. And the same thing with davening. Nowadays, we don't have karbonos, we have davening instead. So what we have to do in davening is transform our animal soul to make it godly as well. That its godly soul should be revealed, and so that we have this yearning for Hashem, and then when we have that yearning to Hashem, then Hashem shines from above to below, so that the world won't be a place of that conceals Hashem's holiness. And that's also the concept of Ner Mitzvah Torah, that we started with Ner Mitzvah, which is elevating up to Hashem, and that's like the yearning. But then we continue on to Torah's light, which is bringing that light down into this physical world, through mitzvah, which is going up to Hashem, we're able to then have Torah bringing that light back down into the physical world. Next paragraph, so what is the idea of letters? So when we pronounce letters, we don't actually know where it's coming from. We want to say a certain letter, and it comes out from the right part of the mouth, whether the throat or the tongue, etc., the lips. So now, letters are unlike a musical instrument, that with letters, they come out of the mouth without thinking, whereas when we play music, you have to be very conscious of exactly which note you want to bring out. Now, there are different parts of the soul. There's nefesh, is the sort of most external level, and then it goes up ruach, neshama, chayechida. So with nefesh, we see from Onkelos that it relates to speech, the power of speech, like it says on the pasuk that the person was a live soul, using the term nefesh for soul. So Onkelos says that what does it mean? A live soul means ruach mamala, speaking soul. So we see that speech is connected to the nefesh. And then ruach is anything from the heart and the emotions. Neshama is what comes from intellect and reflection. Then chaya is the level of chachma, and especially the inner chachma, which is from meichasima, which is beyond chachma, because chachma is when we're not yet processing the idea. We're just letting the subconscious speak to us, so it's just coming straight, and therefore it's beyond bina. So that would be chaya, right? We said that nefesh is speech and action, then ruach is emotions, neshama is bina, and then chaya is chachma, and especially beyond chachma. And then from that, from chachma ultimately, so we have the 22 letters of the alphabet that we use to speak. Now, Chazal say, our rabbis say that Matat, the angel Matat, is preparing crowns. So the idea of preparing crowns and tying crowns from the tefillas, from the prayers of Israel, is because the angels are the ones who bring up our prayers, and when we daven, we use our speech. Our speech is physical. The angel's speech is spiritual, and therefore, when they bring up our speech to their speech, that transforms our physical speech into a spiritual speech, and which is their speech is like our thoughts. So they refine it. They refine our speech, and then lift it up further, because the matat, this angel matat, is one of the sort of high level angels, and it says that that matat is tying crowns. What's the idea of a crown? Keser is beyond, and that's because when we daven, we're trying to connect to a beyond. We say in davening, "Yehi ratzon," may it be your will. Sometimes a person might give a bracha where we already deserve some sort of bounty. Hashem's decided to give us some sort of bounty. The only thing is, it stayed in the spiritual realm. It hasn't yet come down to the physical realm. And then a person might give us a bracha, a blessing that this, what Hashem wants to give you, should come down to you. Whereas tefillah is something different. Tefillah is not bringing down what we already have, but it's yehi ratzon, creating a new will. And that's what we mean when we say Yehesh May Rabbi Mavarach, that Hashem's name may Hashem's name be great. We're saying, may there be a new will from Hashem. And the new will from Hashem should be brought down. And normally we receive according to a system, according to what we deserve. But with Yehi Ratzon, it could be beyond. May it be Hashem's will, even beyond what we deserve in our regular chayes. So then, this is the idea of Keser, the crown, which is beyond Chachma, which is in the mind. So when we use letters to think, then the ideas behind the letters are intellectual. But the concept of letters, how different letters make different sounds, that is beyond intellect. Because we don't have to plan where we want to put our mouth. It's not like music, like we started off, and therefore it's beyond intellect. Okay, next paragraph. Now, Torah is also enclosed in these letters. Because, like we said, that the letters have ideas within them, but the letters themselves are beyond intellect. Now, the word ois, letter, comes from the word asa, to bring. So these words of Torah are about bringing down Hashem's light into the physical world. And this is why Torah is called a mashal, a metaphor. The pasuk says, "Kashayoma mashal kadmoni," like the original, person sharing parables, or the original parable book, Torah would say. So Torah is called this Mashal Kadmoni, the original Mashal book. So the concept is, what is a mashal? What is a metaphor? It's when the actual thing you're trying to understand is too complicated, and you use a metaphor, then you understand it through the metaphor. So the metaphor is not the thing itself that you want to understand, but it relates to what you understand. And this is also the type of prophecy that the Nevi'im, that the other prophets, except for Moshe, reached, that they had some sort of inkling, but it was with a concealment. It was only a metaphor. It wasn't the actual thing. And this is when we have a specularia, we have a mirror where you can see, but it's not the thing itself. You're only seeing an image of the thing itself in the mirror. And that's why Shlomo told 3,000 mashalim, metaphors. The simple interpretation of this pasuk about Shlomo telling parables and metaphors is that he had lots of different parables and metaphors that he made up. But the deep interpretation is that for every idea of Shlomo, because they were such deep ideas, he needed 3,000 mashalim, to 3,000 parables to get it down to the level of the people and explain it to them. In other words, every parable moves the idea one step down, closer to the physical, until after 3,000 levels, and therefore corresponding to that 3,000 parables, that's when it actually comes down. So, for example, with carbonus, the physical idea of a carbon, you're burning fat and blood on an altar. But the spiritual idea, there's a lot of depth in what an animal represents and what the blood represents and the fat, etc. And the fact that it has to be brought by Kohen, wearing the garments of Kahuna. So all these things are, there's the physical meaning and then a spiritual meaning. Now, with the many other, this is over to the second side of Membase, which is like the side for Amud Gimel Amud Daled. So now for Shlomo understood all 3,000 metaphors, meaning 3,000 levels, and there are more than 3,000 levels, but Shlomo understood up till there, up to 3,000 levels. But the marshal goes on, and it can go beyond 3,000. And when Hashem is really, in his essence, Hashem is unlimited. So when Hashem's light comes down, so it comes down, it can't come down in a way of mamali because it's too powerful. Not even sober. Instead, it comes, Hashem's light is brought down through the Torah, which, as we said, that letters is the same. The word ois, which means a letter, also means also to bring Hashem's light down into the world through Torah. And that's why the rabbis say that King David was connecting the Torah with Hashem, meaning that the Torah is what is connected, it's one with Hashem's light, and therefore is able to bring it down into the world. And when a person is doing mitzvah, so then it says about that person, that the person should do mitzvahs and live with them. So we've got this idea of making mitzvahs, and similarly the pasuk says, last I say something, to do them, to make the mitzvahs. And this is the idea of Torah, bringing down Hashem's light into the physical world. But this can only happen, Torah only achieves bringing down Hashem's light into the world after we first have mitzvah, which is about the yearning for us to come up to Hashem. Then after that, you can have Torah, and the light of Hashem comes down into the world. Next paragraph for Inyan. In order to have a fire, you have to have air around it. If you don't have air, then the fire goes out. Now notice that the word for air, avir, is similar to the word for the fire and the light, which is the only difference is a yud. And this is because avir, air, it is important to the light, and it is what keeps the light going. And the yud is only yud is concealment. That's the idea of the yud, the smallest letter, which is concealment. And then from that comes out a revelation. Just like with avir, air, so the yud, which is the extra letter beyond which means the light and the fire itself, that yud is concealment, but then that concealment allows revelation. So that's similar to the letters, that the letters themselves, the idea of letters is beyond intellect, but then it allows to transmit an idea, which is revelation. Now, when we do a mitzvah, so then we elevate to the source, which is avir, and that then allows the light of the Torah to bounce back and to be revealed down here. And this happens through tzedakah, because tzedakah is about mercy for the poor, and this is similar to Hashem giving us from his unlimited light, which is also about, even if we don't deserve it, just giving us sort of earthlings, people down, that he looks down, at the bottom rung. But if a person doesn't do tzedakah, he only has Torah, then really, like Pirkei Avos says, afilu Torah, he doesn't have even Torah, because then he'll only have the shell of the Torah, just the letters without the content. But through tzedakah, then you'll have the pnimis as well, the internal as well, the letters with the content. Now we can go back to our original question about why the mezuzah why the menorah is on the left. Why can't it be on the right with the mezuzah? So the concept of mezuzah is elevation, is going up to Hashem, Allah, and therefore the mezuzah has in it Sheman Vayim Shemaya, which is the central part of Sheman Vayim Shemaya, is where we talk about how we should love Hashem, to go up to Hashem, yearn for Hashem. And where we put it at the entrance to the house in order to elevate the entire house and everything in it to Hashem. And that's why it's on the right, because the right is connected to love and is connected to hugging, like the pasuk says, that his right arm hugs me. And with hugging, you bring the other person near to you. And that's all the side of the right, love and positivity. Whereas the Chanukah menorah is bringing down Hashem into this physical world. So it's not yearning and going above with love, but it's bringing into this world, because the Greeks wanted the Jews to forget about the Torah. And it's a battle, and we're fighting back and saying no, that on the contrary, there should be Hashem's light should spread even in the street, even in the outdoors. And this idea of the menorah being outdoors is because it's meant to have an impact on even on the 70 nations, that there shouldn't be concealment. There shouldn't be concealment, but instead we should the Yevonim, the Greeks who tried to make us forget the Torah, they're subdued and transformed. And when the Hashmonaim won, they said they made an enactment to light the menorah specifically outside and specifically on the left, representing to bring Hashem's light even into a place of darkness and a place of concealment, the left representing concealment. Now, the menorah is meant to light up even the other nations, even the 7 nations, and like we see, parenthetically, it's not in this moment, but in other maamor, we see this, that it says that you're allowed to light menorah ad tichla rigla the Talmudai, until the Talmudai people are no longer on the street. They would be on the street in the evening. Once they go inside, then it's too late to light menorah. So we see again this concept of impacting on the nations. So how do we have the power to do that, to go out and have an impact, to bring Hashem's light out? It's through elevating, which is through the mezuzah. So the purpose of darkness is in order to then bring light into it, and that is the idea of that the menorah brings light even into these places of darkness. Now, the Gemara says in Saita that the world exists from the Amen Yehesh Mei Rabbah, which is said in Kaddish Rabbanan after learning Aggadata, because Aggadata is written in Aramaic. And the idea of Aramaic, it's not the holy tongue, it's not Lashon HaKodesh, the biblical Hebrew, it is Aramaic. And therefore that's some level of concealment of Hashem. But when after we learn Haggadah, we might be learning in another language, not in Hebrew, so therefore there's this extra concealment. But we bring Hashem's name into it, and the idea here is revealing Hashem's light in this place of even in this place of other languages, and then we transform darkness into light, and that keeps the word going. So in short, we've got the menora on the left, and the purpose is because we want to first we've got the mezuzah, which is about elevation to Hashem, then the menora, which is about bringing down Shachan, lighting up the world, and we gave a few examples, the idea of letters that have the letters themselves, which are beyond intellect, and then the ideas behind which are within intellect. Or we had the idea of a mashal, of a parable also, which is about bringing down Hashem's light. And we need to do this in order to transform the darkness into light, which is the purpose of Karbanos and purpose of davening.